Nice to meet you.
Nimbai, could you please mute yourself? Okay. So let us start the session. Meanwhile, people will join in more. So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's session hosted under the Wolfgang Patch Business Network. So I am Vanshika, and I'll be your host for this webinar. So this is, first of all, I'd like to mention this for all the attendees here. Just a quick few points for all of you. So this session is being recorded, and we have disabled your mic while the session is ongoing. If you like something or even find a point insightful, any point or any topic insightful, feel free to use the reaction buttons here. Okay, and if you have any questions, please use the Q&A panel or the chat box, or even you can raise your hand and we will take them up at the end. I hope this sounds good to you, Vinayak.
Absolutely. I have no issues if any participant wants to um, interrupt and ask a question. It's more important that they get their doubts clarified rather than me finishing up and going through all the slides. So no issue, Vanshika.
Okay, okay, even we can take it that way. That sounds wonderful. The conversation will be more interactive between everyone here. So you guys can raise your hand and we will, uh, let you allow your mic here and you can have an interaction with Vinayak. So let me first of all tell you more about the focus on the topic here today is not only important for business but also for our future as well. So the topic is ESG and sustainability. And let me introduce our speaker, today's speaker as well. So, and it is my pleasure to introduce you, Vinayak. So, Vinayak is the founder and CEO of Switch Climate Tech. I have also prepared something, so I'll share that. And yeah, just a second. I hope my screen is visible to everyone.
Yeah, it's visual, Vanshika. It's not visual, it's showing black screen. Yeah, it's visible now.
Okay, great. Okay, so Vinayak is the founder and CEO of Switch Climate Tech. So that is a company which helps businesses become more sustainable through technology and smart strategies. And he has studied and trained with leading institutions like Stanford, Harvard, and United Nations. So it is kind of a global experience he is carrying with him. And through his work, I think he has I have read about you, you have engaged with the students and organizations, and along with that, the NGOs as well. Right, and you do have expertise in ESG compliance, carbon accounting, energy transition, climate policy, and definitely we would like to know exactly what these terms mean exactly. क्या दर्शाते हैं. And yeah, so as I mentioned, you have engaged with students and NGOs. You have built sustainable communities through that. And today, I think, as per the discussion with Vinayak, he has mentioned that he will be sharing his insights with all of us on how ESG connects to the sustainable growth. What are the roles of any company there in economic development and emerging opportunities, obviously in sustainability.
Yes.
And so, yeah, at last, I would like to share the webinar flow. So, yeah, we'll go with the speaker introduction, our guest introduction, and next you would be sharing your insights, Vinayak, on ESG and sustainability topic. And yes, as you mentioned, we have molded this webinar to be more interactive. Q&A session can go hand in hand. And yes, at the end, closing remarks. Along with that, I would like to highlight one more thing here. Just a second. Yeah. So I would like to highlight one more thing here, which is just allow me a moment. Yeah. So, which is that we are going to share a poll with everyone in the end, and you guys will, everyone has to, respond to that, which is mandatory for everyone, to have a little feedback of this session for us and for Vinayak as well. Now, let us start our session on this ESG and sustainability. Over to you, Vinayak.
Thank you, Vanshika, for a wonderful introduction. I must say, Anshul and Vanshika, the entire session is extremely very well coordinated and arranged. All the logistics are flawless. That shows how you are sincere and serious about ensuring that all of the participants make the most out of such kind of a sessions. So thank you for this. Uh, with that, let me share my screen and we'll go through some of the slides that I prepared for you guys. And like I mentioned earlier, it doesn't have to be a lecture in a college class. It is an interaction between us. You may please interrupt me at any point in time. Feel free to ask as many questions as you have. It's more important for me to have you understand the concepts, some of them which Anshika you mentioned on the introduction, than running through the slides. That's not the intention. After the session is over, if you come up with some advanced questions or related queries, feel free to reach out to me over email. Vanshika has the contact details. I'll be more than happy to get back to you with all the responses. I hope my screen is visible and you can see the deck now.
Yes, it is visible, Vinayak.
All right. Today's topic, as we all know, sustainable growth and economic development. And that's when our discussion actually gets started. We often use these terms very loosely, knowing that sustainability, ESG, compliance, economic development, but we rarely paused to think what do they actually mean. So today's session, I divided into 3 to 4 sections. First section is about the common terms that we use just to validate and verify are we using them correctly, and if not, what is the right term. Secondly, about these terms, what's actually happening in the world, not just today, last year, last decade, but since 1980. What's actually happening about this, and why this topic of sustainability is so crucial for us as human beings and also for businesses. Towards the end, I would like your evaluation of your own company, Sarvarth. Is it following some of these principles? And Anshul, I've taken liberty to do a slight evaluation on my end, and I'll be presenting that during the session. Of course, feel free to
Definitely,
challenge
definitely.
me. And at the end, I will explain what we do at Switch if time permits, so that the terms, the knowledge that you have learned are relatable in a business context of Switch and how Switch makes its business grow for the other businesses. So that's the overall flow of the session. As I said, first part is going to be largely a mix of theory. Then there's going to be a quiz for you guys. So be prepared to answer, and one of you might win an exciting prize for winning that quiz. All right. This brief about myself, Vanshika already had done a very nice job of introducing me. I want to point out that I'm not a sustainability person all my career. I spent my career in IT, moved through HSBC, LTI Mindtree, worked across Pune, Chicago, Hong Kong, London, and now I'm settled in Pune. So with 21 years of experience, primarily in IT services, product engineering, and now into sustainability. I myself hold a patent on AI ops from my LTI Mindtree days, and about the sustainability qualifications, you've already seen about that part. Sustainable growth concepts and economic development. We are now moving into the first part of understanding some key terms. Um, this is a time when you can go and unmute yourself. If there is a answer that you want to just spontaneously give out, please feel free to do so. We all talk about climate change, global warming, don't we? Do we know exactly what climate change is? And how is it related to the weather? Is there anyone who wants to take a chance and tell me about what is the difference between weather and climate? Anyone? Any guess?
You guys can raise your hands.
Just a second, I'm allowing them to speak. Yeah.
Okay. There's no negative marking for a wrong answer, by the way. You can just have a go at it. What's the difference between weather and climate?
I think Rohit has raised his hand.
Go ahead, Rohit.
Okay.
I can't see other
Uh,
screens, Shika. So
guys, are you all able to mute yourself? Unmute yourself. आपके पास access है देखिए एक बार. अभय, अजीत, Vaishnavi, Vimbai. Right? We have the access, right? Okay. You guys can unmute yourself and you can answer. The question is, what is the difference between a weather and a climate?
Yes, Ruturaj.
Hello,
hi.
am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, so weather means nothing but like rainy season, summer season, and winter. That is, and climate change is something like a long-term race, like 20, 15 years time span. The
Very good
changes
answer.
is known to the climate.
Very good answer. Um, the climate change is essentially a long-term effect, and that keyword we need to hold on to your short-term memory registers for now. Okay, and why climate change actually occurs. As you correctly answered, weather is the short-term changes in the atmosphere around us. It can be measured in minutes, days, weeks, months, or up to a year also. Whereas climate refers to the long-term changes in the atmosphere that happen around us, not just monsoon. All the seasons are impacted because of a climate change. They don't happen every minute or a week. They happen over a longer course of time, and it takes years worth of data to establish that the climate has actually changed. There could be anomalies, there could be different types of behaviors, there could be seasonal changes. That doesn't mean climate has changed. It takes years or decades, even 30 years or more, to establish that climate has actually changed. It's a long-term effect on our atmosphere. What these effects are we talking about? So you have heard about climate change. This happens because of a phenomenon called as a greenhouse gas effect. Greenhouse gases are also called as GHG. During our conversation, I may use this term more often than not. GHG means the greenhouse gases. Greenhouse gas effect is a very important effect for us to survive, for humans, for the life on earth to survive. On your screen, on your left-hand side, what you're seeing is the natural greenhouse gas effect that exists because of which we are alive. This phenomenon is necessary. The sun's heat rays, they hit the earth. Part of that heat is captured in our atmosphere because of the greenhouse gases, primarily CO2, which is capable of capturing a lot of heat. And that maintains the average temperature of earth around the livable temperature range. So we typically see 13 degrees Celsius, which is a very livable range of an atmosphere all across the globe on an average. That's maintained because of this GHG. There are some, if there were no GHG, the Earth's atmospheric temperature would fall down to -10, -15, and in some places, maybe even to -50 degrees Celsius, which is not conducive to any type of life. So greenhouse gases are not bad. They are a natural phenomenon and they're extremely essential for life to thrive on Earth. So what's the problem if greenhouse gas effect is a good one? The problem is the concentration of GHG gases in the atmosphere. The more concentration in the atmosphere near the surface of Earth, the amount of heat trapped in the atmosphere near the surface goes up. And it creates a cumulative effect. It creates a loop such that more and more heat gets captured, which increases global average temperature, which we commonly call as global warming. So the natural phenomenon is exacerbated because of some of the human actions, which starts capturing more heat in the atmosphere near the surface of the earth, which causes many types of natural phenomena to go in loop. They're also called the feedback loop. This extra heat causes global warming, and this is not a reversible process, uh, not easy process at all. We'll see that the challenges in a moment now. All of these actions on the right hand side of your screen are caused by us, human induced greenhouse gas effects. When this amount of heat trapping increases over a period of many years, it starts to give rise to climate change. It's not to say that greenhouse gas effect because human action is the only cause of climate change. No, there are natural phenomena which also cause climate change. For example, volcano eruptions. There could be natural disasters. They also give rise to the climate change. However, since 1960 onwards, human activities are a primary cause of causing the climate to change. And when such change happens, temperature, air, humidity, monsoon patterns, and human life patterns also change accordingly. In fact, they are forced to change. So remember one thing, climate change happens over many years, and that's a concerning factor. It takes equal or even more number of years to reverse its effects. What are such effects? All of you have seen this kind of a climatic changes across the world, not just in India. We have seen extreme heat waves in Delhi, Rajasthan, extreme cold cases during the winter, again towards north part of India. In fact, some of the coldest nights were observed in the western part of India also. Severe drought conditions, we all know about that for many years now. Heavy rains, talk about the heavy rains in this 2025 across India, Punjab, Haryana, Vidarbh, Marathwada, Pune, Mumbai, all these regions are actually bombarded with heavy rains. It's not that the rains are new to us. Shorter duration, very heavy rains, almost like a cloud burst. That's the effect of a climate change. Rising sea levels, oceanic changes, the changes that happen at the oceanic levels, acidification, the death of the coral reefs, all of these are oceanic changes. Wildfires, we've seen earlier this year in California, extreme wildfires, storms I've seen. We have seen ice falling in Texas, never had happened. The city was not ready to get rid of the ice. These are the climatic stressors only because of the climate changes. Here's the quiz I talked about. You are required to arrange these activities: transportation, industry, energy supply, agriculture, and residential and commercial buildings. Based on your information so far, just rank them in the descending order, first being the highest emission causing area. No wrong answers, no negative marks for your wrong answers. Just have a go. You can note your answers yourself. On the next slide, I'll share the answer with you. Just let me know if you got point number 3 correctly or not. You guys ready? I can move on to the next one.
Ready, ready, Vinayak.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. How many of you got this sequence correctly? The topmost emission sector, energy supply, generation of power across the world. Second, industries. Third, agriculture and land use. Fourth, transportation. And fifth, residential and commercial buildings. Is there anyone who got the sequence right?
Guys, if you have got the right sequence, please raise your hands. That will be easier for us to know. Or maybe you can unmute yourself and speak that you have got it.
Yeah. Moving on to the next part, I talked specifically about the third topic. We don't view agriculture as an emission causing activity, do we? And that's primarily because our perception. We don't look at the fertilizers, pesticide, the equipments used in the agricultural sector as one of the causes of climate change. And that's when the science starts to get deeper. The obvious activities that we think are actually green or less harmful to our environment are not that green or safe. For example, energy supply. We always talk about transitioning to solar energy and windmills. Do you know that even the solar panel manufacturing and usage of solar panel to generate the electricity also creates emissions? The benefit here is the amount of emission created by the solar panel electricity generation is far less than burning the coal for the same amount of electricity generation. So both are causing emissions, but there is a vast difference to multiple orders when we go to the renewable energy. And that's why we should shift to a lesser emitting energy supply sector. Okay, we've talked about sustainability quite a lot. What's the right definition? Where did it come from in first place? It's a classic definition that was first coined back in 1987 by Bertland report. Bertland was the director of that reporting community. It's titled as Our Common Future. But it says that sustainability is nothing but the development which meets needs of the present generation without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. And this is where it starts to make sense. Climate change that is happening because of our activities or our ancestors are not only affecting us, but also going to affect the future generations, and they will not be able to meet their own needs. The needs could be environmental or resource based. They may not have the right quality of soil, water, and air if we are not conscious about our own actions, if our businesses, our conduct is not sustainable. This is where it comes together. The climate change, once it has happened, it is intergenerational. It takes years to manifest, change, and again, multiple decades to be reversed if it's a bad effect. And the future generations, they deserve sustainability. We cannot leave our planet Earth like a use and throw model. The resources are limited on this earth. The quality of soil is limited. The amount of clean air is limited. We've seen the amount of heat getting trapped. It increases exponentially every year, which means the amount of clean air available for ourselves and the future generation is going to be less. Same thing applies for all natural resources, biodiversity, fresh water, good oceans, green environment. All of this will get depleted. And that's why it is our responsibility to understand what sustainability truly means and how our actions impact the climate change. We're moving into the second section where what the world is doing about it. When did it all start? It actually started way back after scientists have realized around 1970 that the industrialization that started in 1960 is causing a huge amount of gases getting released into the atmosphere. Back then, the engines or the equipments used to burn the fuel were not that sophisticated. So the amount of poisonous gases, sulfur dioxide, nitrous oxide, carbon dioxide, they were in excess amount, and a lot of fuel was getting burned because it was very primitive infrastructure creation phase back in 1960 and 70s. That's when scientists have realized that they, based on their observations, the ozone layer depletion was also observed. The quality of soil, water, and air getting depleted was also observed. And when the world started coming together, it started all the way in 1982. First Common Future was published in 1987, and there are other events that you can see on your screen. I'll highlight some of the notable events for you. And some of you may have already seen or heard about these types of events. What are those? Right? 1992, Rio de Janeiro, the first COP was established. COP stands for Conference of Parties. It is nothing but all the countries officially representing themselves and joining this conference to tackle the problems of climate change. Although the COP was established in 1995, its first meeting only happened in, it was established in 1992. The first meeting happened only in 1995 in Berlin, Germany. And if you calculate, if it started in 1995, this year, 2025, marks its 30th instance. These summits happen every year. So 2025, it's going to be the 30th year of it. Some of the key events that have happened under the COP are 1997 Kyoto Protocol. You would have heard Kyoto Protocol primarily. Then there's a Paris Agreement. There are Montreal Agreements. Paris Agreement is very famous for 2015, wherein all the countries actually agreed to the scientific evidences of climate change and committed to reduce their emissions to limit the global warming up to 2 degrees centigrade by the end of the century. Remember this, in 2015, 192 countries agreed to limit the global warming by 2 degrees Celsius by the end of the century, 2100, which means every country has left had left with only 85 years to reverse the changes. So the targets were reasonably kept long enough so that all countries can take meaningful actions around it. We're already in 2024 and 25. We have seen that global warming only going up. There's no reversal around it. In fact, in 2024 and earlier this year, March 2025, we have seen the global warming breaching 1.5 degrees Celsius mark already. The next COP is planned in Brazil, and some of you who have been tracking the Amazonian forest may very well be aware that the portion of Amazon forest is getting reduced drastically. Up to 30% of forest has already been lost. And this is one of the largest carbon sink of the world, wherein a lot of carbon emissions are absorbed by the forests in Amazon area. When so many problems arise, the question remains, what is the actual need for a sustainable development? This is when the businesses, and when I say business, it's not just manufacturing, it's not just cement, it's not just steel, it's also us, IT services. We need to think about what look like a sustainable development and is it actually the need of the hour? It indeed is a need. And the reason being our Earth, the planet has limited amount of resources. If you start looking at the limitations of our planet, they're typically called as planetary boundaries. What can this planet provide for its humanity in a given year or given decade or until the safe operating limits? What you see on your screen are the concentric circles. The green areas are what the safe limits of operations are. And as you can see, we have already breached some of the safe operating area. Biodiversity loss. More than 130 species have already vanished the surface of Earth only in India. These species will never come back. Nitrogen cycle, which is extremely affected by the excessive use of fertilizers in India, has already breached this. Climate crisis are already in the red zone. As I told you, 1.5 degrees Celsius were breached earlier in March 2025. What does this mean? If these planetary boundaries are breached consistently, the planet becomes less and less livable. It is not conducive to any natural habitation. How would it look if the situation doesn't change by 2030? It's a dire situation. We have already been going out of safe operating space on many accounts: biogeochemical flows, fresh water, land system change, biosphere integrity, CO2 concentrations going high, and whatnot. And as you can also see, atmospheric aerosol loading, ocean acidification, stratospheric ozone depletion are also on the rise. By the way, 16 September, just a couple of days ago, we celebrated the World Ozone Day, wherein the efforts that the world has taken since 1985 to control the depletion of ozone have actually shown good results. Ozone layer was primarily affected by the refrigerants. Whatever coolant that we use in our AC and fridge, those caused a lot of ozone degradation. Since the Montreal Protocol, all the 146 countries back then, they participated and agreed that they will reduce the use of HFC, hydrofluorocarbons, in refrigeration systems. Since 1997 up to 2025, that single change across the world in the refrigeration industry has resulted in restoration of ozone layer. And that's why you see it is one of the least impacted as of today. It's not to say that we are already out of the danger zone. There's always something more that we can do. But this part is the safest because of that effort that started. And like I told you, if it started in 1997, it has started showing effects, positive effects, only in 2025. it takes about 25-30 years to even start seeing the positive change of such kind of activities if they are taken at a world level, not just by one company, by one country or one continent. It has to be a global effort. This is a global warming we're talking about, not a localized Jabalpur change or a Pune change. So we looked at some of the protocols. How are they related to the businesses? So this next section is going to talk about how do I relate these climatic change and sustainability efforts to my businesses and my personal actions. Are they relatable? Yes, they are. They're expressed primarily in the development goals. During 2000, there were 8 goals which are agreed to. And as you might have guessed, the year 2000 also called as the year of the millennium. So these MDGs are nothing but the Millennium Development Goals. They were constituted and they were to be followed until 2015. These 8 goals were created and shared with all the countries and they were to follow that. These are those 8 Millennium Development Goals. There's, I'm not saying they're expired, but they're not contextual anymore. I'm going to see what's contextual right now. But before we move on to the Sustainable Development Goals, which started coming in effect in 2015, right after the Paris Act. Just spend a minute on number 1 and 2. You'll see that eradicate extreme poverty and hunger. Back in 2002, this may have looked at as a very good goal, but in 2015, there was already problem with this type of a goal that is too vague, too generic, too broad. It couldn't be acted upon or measured. Similarly, all the other 7 MDGs follow the same nature. They were not very objective, they were not global, they were not universal. It was very hard for countries to actually measure them and report them for comparability and show the progress. That's why Sustainability Development Goals were constituted in 2015, wherein these 17 goals were accepted by 192 countries as a part of Paris Agreement, including USA. George W. Bush and later Trump have opted out of the Paris Act. Also, they're not following the Sustainable Development Goals, but it is a need of the world that every country follows SDGs. And if you look at these goals now, and we're going to spend a couple of minutes on these goals to understand why these goals are important for businesses and why they are critical for personal lives also. No poverty, as the goal suggests, there is a poverty index across countries. And within a country also there is a poverty index. These indexes are measured to assess how many people are below the poverty line or above the poverty line. So the government policies are aligned with these type of indexes which are measurable. In India, we all know that there's a rationing system, meaning the food is distributed at a ration in a rations stalls at a subsidized rate or in some cases free of cost also. Now, why is that done? Is to address this type of a goal. Poor people cannot afford to spend money on food. Look at goal number 2, zero hunger. So the only choice that they have is to go hungry. But that's also not good for the country because that's a working population. They cannot sleep hungry, their productivity go low. So goal number 1 and 2 actually go hand in hand. Rationing of a food at a cheaper rate allows people to eat healthy, feed themselves, and uplift them from the poverty lines. Otherwise, their money would be spent only on the food if it is expensive. These goals go hand in hand. And that's an example of one of the first MDG being broken into 2 such goals, which are now more targeted, actionable, measurable, and directly ties with the government policies. Next in line are good health and well-being. Why it is important for a country to care about its citizens' health and well-being. And by well-being, it's not just physical health, it's also the environment, the gardens in your city, the good walkable roads in your city, common public transportations. These contribute to your well-being. Good health is extremely important because if you are not in a good health, you are likely to spend more time in hospitals, clinics, or rest and recovery, which means a lot of your actionable years, productive years, are wasted because of ill health. That doesn't contribute to any of the country's progress, doesn't contribute to GDP. That's why healthy people are actually a goal under SDG. quality education. Note this, it doesn't say education for all, it says quality education. It's important. Just ticking the boxes that so many students are going to the schools, primary schools, secondary schools, and getting graduated from their respective curriculums is not really the goal. The goal is quality education. Are they receiving quality educations? Are the professor teachers paid better? Are the college and school facilities are better? That's what translates into quality education. Are their curriculum set correctly? Are the schools rated properly? Are the teachers given appropriate amount of training? All of these factors are quantifiable, measurable, which are measured under the quality of education. I don't need to talk about the gender equality. I've seen Sarwarth follow this in truth and nail, that they follow the gender equality to the best of the available talent in the market. It is important to bring in the diversity, a culture that values everybody's contribution. And by gender, it is not meant only male and female. It means that all the genders in the world are respected and given opportune time, efforts, and support so that they can earn their own livelihood. Clean water and sanitation. You've seen many women in even today in tribal India, remote areas of India, wherein they have to spend hours on end just to bring in fresh drinking water. Forget about the utility water. They spend hours. That means when they're spending so much of time in just to get the water, they don't have any time left to do anything else in their lives. They may not send their children to school. They may not go to earn any money because they're busy just to get some good water. Same goes true for sanitation. Affordable and clean energy. You've seen the PM Kusum Yojana and solar panel subsidies this year in 2024. Why is that? India has a target of renewable energy generation to the 50% of our capability in 2030. So India's target to go with renewable energy is 2030, 6 years to go. But the government already started giving subsidies in 2024, last year, because such type of events and policies take years to get implemented. It's not that the government has given a subsidy, you will go over the counter and buy a solar panel, put it onto your solar rooftop and done. No, it takes months and years to get these types of panels installed across India through the subsidized market so that India can meet its energy targets. Luckily for India, we already met the 2030 target in 2025 itself, up to 45%. Only 5% are left. But we'll get there sooner, ahead of time. Now the government also understands following the SDG is good for the country, not just for people. It reduces emissions, it gives jobs to the people, it gives cleaner energy. The environment becomes much cleaner because you're burning less coal to generate the same amount of electricity. I'm going to take a pause here. We've covered 7 SDGs so far. Any questions on any of these SDGs? Okay, I'll move on then. SDG number 8, decent work and economic growth. It's extremely important to give opportunity for the youth to have decent work opportunities so that they are responsible and accountable for their own economic growth, and they uplift not just themselves, their families, but also the community that they live in. Industry, innovation, and infrastructures. The industrial areas within India, they need to be supported by the government through the policies, incentive, tax brackets, so that they can flourish in their businesses and create more jobs and employment. Reduced inequalities means across the communities and across the earning class. There are rich people, there are very rich people, there are ultra rich people, ultra wealthy, super rich people. And there are poor people, poorer people, and the poorest people. There are various stratas. These inequalities also create social unrest. And that is something a country cannot afford. Hence, reduction of inequalities, be it in terms of the religion, caste, earning, or any other factor that divides and creates inequality, needs to be reduced or eliminated. That's why it is a measurable goal. Sustainable cities and communities, we have seen the smart cities getting constituted. Many cities in Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, and New Delhi area have done really well in terms of creating smarter cities. they have better transport mechanisms, better connectivity, so that the communities at large, the citizens enjoy these type of facilities without spending any additional efforts, time, or money to create these facilities on themselves. Responsible consumption and production, the way we consume the resources, food wastage, for example, it's not good on our part, not just because our culture says so, but the food production has already caused so much emission. If you don't eat the food on our plate, it's going to go waste completely. Even the emissions are now wasted. And the wasted food also causes emissions. They're called as landfill emissions. So these are some of the direct effects why responsible consumption has to be made. Single-use plastics should be completely banned. It's not responsible consumption. It may be convenient, but it's not responsible. We've been talking about climate action all this session. Climate action essentially means taking concrete steps to reduce or avoid emission causing activities. Could be your personal life, could be a business. Let's take an example of a personal life. Let's say you're traveling from your home to your office and you're either traveling by a car or your bike. What if you can do a carpool? What if you can do a bike pool ride? Or better yet, what if you use a public transport? Even better, what if you use a bicycle? Even better, what if you walk to your office? You could walk to your office. When you transition to public transport or less emitting options, you are taking a climate action. This is also applicable for your personal lives. Okay. The next two items or goals, life below water and life on land. These had to be put in specifically for the goals because a lot of countries were not aware of effect of climate change on the oceans, our rivers, our water aquifers, our freshwater, groundwater resources. And that is why this type of life had to be attended to. A lot of fisheries, coral reefs, planktons, they actually absorb a lot of CO2, create the food for themselves. And when their capacity to absorb the CO2 reduces, it gives back rise to the heat emissions. So that's why life below water must be protected. It is an integral part of our Earth's planetary boundaries and ecosystems. Same thing goes to for life on land. It doesn't mean just humans, birds, other animals, trees, everyone, everything that lives on the surface must be protected. The last two at a global level, as you can imagine, peace, justice, and strong institutions. We have seen the Israel conflict. We are witnessing Ukraine conflict for more than 3 years now. It's not just the war equipments that are getting used, it also causes humongous amounts of emissions. Those bombs, those bullets, those airplane strikes, the drone strikes, they cause humongous amounts of emissions. And we all know it's not limited to Ukraine and Russia. Those emissions are for the world to share. We are all sharing that emission as we speak today. Be it you are in Jabalpur, Solapur, or Pune, we are sharing that emission. It's a common world. It's a common climate. So it is not to say that it doesn't matter us, it does. It may not be visible today. It is actually affecting us. That's why peace across countries is important. Justice is important. People who feel that their injustice has been done to them, they will revolt. They will upturn the governments. What happened in Sri Lanka last year? What happened in Bangladesh earlier this year? And what happened in Nepal last week are all examples of peace, justice, strong institutions not being maintained in a country.
Right.
So this gives us the rise to understand these SDGs are not something to be done on paper. They need to be implemented for effective implementation and respecting planetary boundaries. Partnership goals. This meeting is an example of this. That we partner with the people who can create this type of effective solutions to implement sustainable development goals. Any questions before I move on? Anyone?
Uh, so, sir, I have a question.
Yes.
Uh, you told that whatever happened in world, I'm sorry. Uh, can I ask you this in Hindi?
Sure.
लाइक जैसे आपने बोला कि जो भी कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स होते हैं पूरे वर्ल्ड पे
Yes.
तो उसका जो इम्पैक्ट है वो हर कंट्री में पड़ता है। लाइक अभी यूक्रेन का था, और जो भी अभी नेपाल का हुआ, श्रीलंका, तो उसका इम्पैक्ट अगर देखा जाए तो सब जगह पड़ता है। तो कैसा इम्पैक्ट होता है
Right.
वो? हाँ।
The impacts are of different types. One is resources. Let's talk about the resources. If there is a war between two countries, the other countries, what do? What choice do they have? There are three choices. One, they join the war. Let's say India can either join Russia or Ukraine. Second, they do not join the war, they stay neutral. India had been staying neutral for quite a while now, for last 3 years. And third action is they may not support any of the party, but they can support the citizens who are undergoing the war. India has sent supplies to the people in Ukraine so that they survive the war. The civilians, when the war is going on, they don't have any job left. They can't go to their factory. The factory is already demolished. So how do they earn their living? But they still need food to survive. So these countries send them resources, and not just India. Many countries have been sending resources to Ukraine. Now, when resource from India is sent to another country, that means that resource is not available for India's citizens anymore. If we keep sending these supplies, the amount of resources that we have left in our country is also getting reduced. That's one. Secondly, how did the resource in India was created in first place? We used our land, our water, our farmers grew that food, and now we're sending it. So all the processes happened in India. We caused the emissions, we spent money, and that is now getting used where outcome of a war. This type of effect gets manifested not just for resources but natural resources also. There could be rivers which are getting polluted. There could be land which the fertile land in Ukraine. One of the largest producer of wheat in the world was Ukraine. It's not anymore. So what happens to the wheat production that used to happen in Ukraine? Who supplies wheat to the other parts of countries then? No one. So somebody else has to step in. So either the prices will go up or the wheat will not be available at all. All of these scenarios indicate that two countries fighting are restricting on resources, food, natural resources, and money. When prices go up, that means the money constraint, money resources at a risk. All of these things happen along with the climatic changes because of the war activities. Does that help to answer your question?
Yes, sir. Sure.
Okay. All right. So we've seen these SDG goals, very important and very easy to understand. But in practice, for these 17 goals, there are 169 targets. And these 169 targets are further divided into 242 indicators. So it's not just one poverty index, there are multiple targets below that and multiple indicators below that. And that is how many countries report their activities. India has been publishing its sustainability report since 2020. You are welcome to research on that and read it. It's a good one. Now, this
Nice.
is the, yes, go ahead. Any question?
No, Vinayak, you can continue.
Okay, all right. So there's a little exercise that I did for server. Right? Are we aligned to SDGs? Right? And this is without looking into your any financial books or non-financial data. I know Serverth as a company and I've been following some of the activities that Serverth does day in and day out. But most importantly, when I look at the philosophy of Serverth, let me repeat, when I look at the philosophy of Serverth, there are certain goals which are directly achieved because of this philosophy, and there are certain goals which are indirectly achieved. This is where our second quiz starts now. I invite you to try to map your company, Serverth's mission, the way they conduct business, the way they treat you, the way they help you, the way they guide you, the way they have uplifted you. What do you think? Which one, two, or three goals is Serverth achieving in its operations? I give you 30 seconds to think about this. In the meantime, if anyone has question related to what I'm asking you to map, feel free to ask that question. Is my question clear, Vanshika? If anyone can give me a yes, if the question is clear.
Yes, yes. Yes, Vinayak, that's perfectly clear.
Okay.
By the way, that's a great activity that you have come up with. I also personally really liked it.
All right. I'll give you 30 seconds more. All right. Let's move on. Now, there is no right answer and there's no wrong answer. Reason being, this exercise that Vinayak has done is only based on the publicly available information. There could be some data points which only Anshul, Vaibhav, they know about that. And based on those activities, some of additional goals may be ticked and maybe some goals may not be applicable. It depends upon what data is available for you to evaluate. That's why there's no right or wrong answer. It is a partial answer. Each one of you may have a partial answer. Collectively, we all could be wrong and not sufficient. And collectively, we could be right and above expectation. So that's a clarification on our answers. However, there's some points which there's no doubt what Saurav is doing, right? What are those points? There are direct mapping to some of your activities, SDG 8, 9, and 10. Decent work and economic growth, industry innovation and infrastructure, and reduced inequalities. At the same time, there are also indirect SDGs which are achieved through just the business of server, the way you are conducting the business. Number 11, sustainable cities and communities, good health and well-being, quality education, and gender equality. Now, is every one of you in agreement that the direct SDGs that I have written here are also some of your answers? Is there any disagreement on these SDGs?
We do agree, Vinayak.
Right?
Yes, we agree.
So the principle is instead of focusing on the metro cities or tier 1 cities only, the business can be done in tier 2, tier 3 cities also. And when I say tier 2, tier 3 cities, it doesn't have to be a city. It's a place where talent is available and the talent is waiting for opportunity to express themselves and succeed in this world. That's the philosophy. It does not differentiate between the region of area. It does not differentiate between the college that the talent may have gone. It does not differentiate or discriminate on any of such parameters. And that is why it is able to provide decent work and economic growth across parts of India. It's not limited to one pocket also. It's not just limited to one state. Now it is multi-state. This is a type of an innovative idea. It not only helps the business to grow, but it's also an industry innovation types. Many businesses now are thinking to decentralize their operations to reduce the risk of availability of multiple types of resources, employees, transportation facilities, living environments. All of these are part of rising out of the innovations and infrastructure. This infrastructure within the cities are heavily stressed. If you look at Mumbai, look at the local trains every single day, heavily under stress. So much demand, very less supply. That means when such type of a workforce moves to another city, the resource demand on those metro cities also reduce. It helps that infrastructure survive for a little longer. Otherwise, this will also collapse. So these are the SDGs that Sarvartha has been directly contributing. And this is based on my observation. If there's anything less that I have listed, it's partly because of I don't have that visibility into that type of information. But I'm sure Sarvartha is doing a lot more in this area. So before we go to the next part, congratulations to entire team Sarvat, Vaibhav, Anshul, Sumit, Please accept my congratulations. You're doing wonderful on SDGs. Even you may not be measuring yourself against any of the SDGs, but you're doing fantastic. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Vinayak. Thank you. Even we were not aware about this. We just get aware that we are doing something great in SDGs.
Yes,
Thank
you
you for
are.
this.
Yes, you are. Now we started off with technical terms, theory knowledge. We looked at what the world is doing. We looked at the effects of climate change. We looked at the SDGs in depth. Now switching language to Hindi, वो सब तो ठीक है. इसका मेरे से क्या लेना देना? What's in ESG for me? How do I benefit from this space in general? Right? That must be a daunting question in your mind. I'm not saying this, LinkedIn says it. If you just look at some of these roles and titles across multiple geographies, you'll see thousands of job openings in the ESG space. You're going to go deeper into this roles. What does these terms actually mean? There are thousands to lakhs of opportunity across the world in this space and across industries, academia, oil and gas, manufacturing sector. In fact, Switch has worked with multiple players from manufacturing and retail, food, uh, IT services, logistics, fast moving consumer goods, FMCG. All the material that you see in your stores like Star Bazaar, DMart, what they sell is basically the FMCG, fast moving consumable goods. Banking sectors. When I say banking, it's banking and banking related financial institutions, also micro lending, nano lending spaces, IT services that help banking, all of it. Insurance sector, all of this is part of industries. There are hundreds and lakhs of career opportunities in ESG. What are those typical career call and their numbers? So I've worked with a couple of professors from Symbiosis Institute of Management, SIMS, Pune, earlier this year, and also shared this research paper with Mr. Prakash Zavadekar. Mr. Zavadekar was the former Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. There's a ministry in Government of India. He was a former minister. I met him and then shared this research paper with him. He also concurred with the findings that I had shared with him. Okay. If you look at some of these roles, GHG inventory specialist, all of you already know what GHG means, greenhouse gases. Inventory is calculating the greenhouse gas emissions for your businesses and creating an inventory out of it. I think 2 days ago, all of you must have finished or completed your tax filing. 15 September was the last date. What is tax filing? Essentially, you take a stock of all of your earnings, your monthly salary, your dividends, your investments, your expenses, and at the end of the year, you file that with the government. The collection of that information is nothing but inventorization of your income and expenses and investments. Same principle applies to GHG. You create an inventory of your greenhouse gases and then create a report out of it. The people who do it are the specialist, GHG specialist. And by the way, this is not just some Excel based calculation. There are ISO standards, there are GHG protocol standards, which you have to learn, practice, give exams for to become a specialist in GHG inventorization. There are about 2 lakh jobs projected just on this area by the year 2030. Lead auditors, just like CA, they review your income and they give us time that this is the right disclosure of income. Similarly, there are lead auditors and verifiers for your GHG disclosures. GHG reports are also called GHG disclosures. There are auditors and verifiers who do this, specialized, very niche jobs, and the lacks of opportunities around that. Technical experts. There are technical experts for particular sector. Cement, steel, fertilizer, nitrogen, hydrogen, energy production, paper industry are heavily guarded sectors. They emit a lot of emissions. Government is very keen for these 6 to 7 sectors. There are hundreds of processes which cause emission in these sectors. So you require a specialist to understand the emission levels. Very niche jobs, extremely niche jobs. I've worked with a cement company 2 years ago. That cement company is now already acquired by Ultratech Cement. The name was Kesoram Cement. So for that case study, just that one company, and I'm taking an example of an average emission by one small cement company, would cause emission of 5.6 million tons of emission in 1 year. Now, if you put that into perspective, 56 लाख टन का emission एक साल में हुआ है छोटी सी सीमेंट कंपनी से. 1 ton is 1000 kg of CO2. So you multiply 56 lakh by 1000 kilo. That's the emission by one cement company, one small cement company in 1 year back in 2022-23 year. Now imagine so many companies across these sectors, how much it takes to just calculate their emissions. Then there are carbon credit markets. These are advanced concepts. Maybe in some other sessions, I can cover that for you. Then there are monitoring, reporting, and validation platform developers. You need a constant monitoring and reporting. There are dashboard requirements. There are widget requirements. Some of you guys who develop Power BI dashboards or other type of a dashboard using any other technology, you may be able to relate to this. There's a constant monitoring required for your plants, constant reporting and validation required. These are MRV platforms required for your carbon emission assessments, measurement, and monitoring. Then there are advanced topics like carbon registry. You need documentation experts, subject matter expertise. There are advisory and consultations, and QA, quality assurance for these types of activities. And overall, all of these jobs also have their counterparts in the IT sector. So about 1 million jobs is the job creation opportunity in India only in the ESG space. Will they happen right now? No, but they have already started to happen, and you've seen the job openings on LinkedIn already. They can substantiate the need of such ESG experts in various roles. Any questions on this before I move on?
Vinayak, we have two questions in the chat box. I'll read it out for you.
Please.
So one question is, this question is by Anshika Garg. She has asked that what are the most common misconception about ESG that business still have?
Good question. Okay. The businesses typically look at ESG that it is a cost. That is one of the biggest misconception that they have. When I talk to the businesses, CFOs and COs, chief operating officers, the first question that I get asked by them is what you also asked, Anshika. Is this going to cost me? If I have to create an ESG report, is this going to cost me? Answer is yes. Report creation costs you money, but what happens after the report creation saves you the money. What happens when you create an ESG report? You uncover all of your emission causing activity for your processes, materials, and business operations. When you do that, when you have measured something, that is the first step. You can take concrete actions to reduce your emissions. When emissions are reduced, your materials which are used get reduced. The resources that you use get reduced. That means the money that you spend on those additional materials and resources gets reduced, which reduces your cost. So when you have clarity about your business operations, materials, and resources through ESG activities, you have an opportunity to reduce your consumption, thereby reducing your emissions, and then take the cost saving to the next level. Second part, businesses which reduce their emissions claim to be better. If you go to shop, let's say clothing, you'll have a couple of brands. Given that the material is same, it's the same denim material. What differentiates product A from product B is which brand is more environmentally sensible. There are some of you who may value brand A because they have labeled their product and they're disclosing that this is a environmental conscious product versus brand B, which may be at the same price, but does not say anything about their environmental activity or responsibility. Customers today are typically Gen Z, the ones that I'm talking to you right now, have a very added attention to the brands which are environmentally sensible, and they show that through their actions. So first, it is not a cost. It is an opportunity to reduce your operational cost. Second, your customers, typically Gen Z customers, are very aware of environmental sustainability and they're very sensitive to this type of products and brands. Third, investors. PRI is a principal responsible for investors It's a global consortium. They currently manage more than $3 trillion. $3 trillion in investment. They understand ESG disclosure by a company before they invest the money into that company. So if a company is not disclosing their ESG reports, PRI will never invest in them. What does it mean? As a company, when I'm going to raise my funds from my investors, I better be disclosing my ESG activities. So these three are main economic drivers. Your compliance to reduce the cost and emissions, your customers and your investors, they're the primary three drivers which companies look forward to perform their ESG activities. I hope I answered your question, Anjali.
Yes, sir.
What is the second question?
So another question is, okay, we have two more questions, one more added on. So this question is by Atharva. He has asked that what skills should young professionals focus on if they want to suppose to build their career in ESG and sustainability?
Exactly the slides we are talking about, Atharva. So these are typical roles and titles. If you look at and do a little bit of more research about what are the skills necessary under each of those roles, they have a common overlap. First and foremost, you need to understand what climate change sustainability is. And today is a starter pack for you. You can take this and then start exploring this world of ESG. Second, based on the area of interest that you have, you can explore the second level of skills are actually required. I'll give an answer for the first part, GAG inventory. To create a GAG inventory, if you are interested, what you need to learn is ISO 14064 standard. That's a standard. And again, as the name suggests, it is the common standard that all the world entities follow, whichever are agreement for ISO, to scientifically establish your emission levels. Once you understand and master that skill, you can become a GHG inventory specialist. There's a series of ISO certifications, ISO 14040, 44, 67, 68. All is related to your GHG inventarization, product lifecycle assessment, LCA, PCF, product carbon footprinting. These are all various standards and skills which you can acquire to go into these types of roles. But that's a technical side. Then you also need some domain expertise. So I would encourage you to take some courses, ESG courses that help you to understand the overall picture of that domain. I know, in fact, we have a partner called as My Diksha, Switch and My Diksha. We have launched ESG courses with two universities in India, IMI Kolkata and Jadavpur University. What we do through these universities that we launch these ESG courses wherein people can take that course, do a practice on the Switch platform for those for the training aspects of it, and then become ESG professionals. You see these ESG professionals, we aim to make them ESG professionals. So there are various courses like this available in the market, and these courses are available from IIMs, your IITs, your Mumbai University, Pune University. The courses that I mentioned, we also have those courses. Symbiosis, for example, you have so many courses available. You choose the area that you want to go to, and then upgrade your knowledge. I hope, Atharva, that answers your question.
Yes, sir, I got my answer.
Thank you. What's the next one, Anshika?
Okay, great. So this is a similar kind of a question here by Sania Siddiqui. So it says that India is expected to lead in carbon trading in the coming years. What role will young professionals have in shaping transparent and credible carbon markets?
Okay, wonderful question. Now, I want to clarify the first part of your question that India is supposed to lead the carbon credit market. We are not leading, we are already behind. Let's be clear. Carbon credit trading is happening across the world for many years now. In India, it started in 2008. In 2025-26, Government of India will formally release CCTS, Carbon Credit Trading Scheme. CCTS was already discussed in the parliament 2 years ago. It's going through multiple revisions so that it is adopted to the India's context. So we are late to the party. When I say we, India as a country, we are not the leader of carbon credit trading. That's one part I want to clarify. The second part, the market in India is actually much bigger than the rest of the world. That part is correct. The carbon credit generation typically happens in India, and many international organizations have been trading it using the credits generated in India. At Switch, we have built a blockchain platform which helps to trade the carbon credits. And this is the patent that I showed you. At Switch, we have filed for a patent for this particular aspect. This is one of my most favorite and pet topic, carbon credit trading. I've been studying this for more than 3 years now. I've also given my suggestions to the Government of India for the CCTS. What can be done while you are adopting Article 6 of Paris Agreement, how it can be customized for the Indian context. But before I go into those details, to learn about carbon credit, you need to understand what a carbon credit is in first place. What are the mechanisms of trading a carbon credit across the world? And what are the allowed carbon trading practices within the India? That's the first part of awareness. Second part is, how do you help your business to trade in the carbon credit? Do you do the OTC, over the counter type of a transaction? Do you use a blockchain type of platform like Switch? Or do you manage your monthly installments of carbon credit, just like your SIP investment in mutual fund? You can also purchase carbon credits in a SIP fashion. What are the modalities of carbon credit trading? Do you need a platform? Can you become a platform player wherein all the carbon credits are traded? There's a website called as carboncredits.com, and you can look at those details. What you will notice fundamentally similar between carbon credit trading and your equity trading or stock market trading are essentially the same. Carbon credit is a unit that gets traded just like the stocks of a company. So if you know how to create the trading platforms or brokerage firms, you can create one for yourself at a company level. As a specialist, you can start to create derivative products out of carbon trading. Derivative means futures and options, which happen for your stock market, which can also happen for your carbon credit trade markets. Of course, you have to be mindful about the government regulations of speculative trading and derivative trading in carbon trading. For the CCTS specifically, that's in the works, so it may change. Then the third part, which is more interesting, backward integration. How does carbon credit get generated in first place? Who gets carbon credit? Who can earn carbon credit? How can they earn carbon credit? What's the procedure? Who can consult these companies to generate carbon credits? Forestation projects, solar panel installations, windmill generation for electricity. All of these stand to gain carbon credits. But how do you do that? Do you apply somewhere? What's the application process? What are the details about the emissions avoidance and saving that you need to specify? All of these technical aspects come under generation of a carbon credit aspect. So carbon credit trading is a huge area, much bigger than the GHG inventorization in my mind. And there are various areas where you can go in as a trader, as a platform, as an expert, as an entity, as a business. Many avenues to deal in carbon trading, carbon credits. All right. I hope I
Okay.
answered that question.
Yes, definitely. We do have one more question. I think it's going very interactive, and it's really nice to see people coming up with more questions. Great. So this question is from Ruturaj. He has asked that what trends do you think will shape the future of sustainability?
Trends is a big word, Ruturaj. I do not believe in predicting the trends, but what I know is the opportunities will grow for the people who understand sustainability really well. Let's take an analogy. Let's step out of sustainability and ESG for a moment, and the most hotly debated topic of the world today, Gen AI, right? We see so many tools coming up, already there. Gemini, Claude, Grok, Chat GPT, Perplexity, all of these are leading tools. Now tell me which one is better. Where are they heading? No answer. Well, this is a curve. There's an adoption curve, there's a hype curve, there's a maturity curve, and there's a declination curve. So we are at a different phase for this type of a technology as we are witnessing. When people were getting introduced to Chat GPT, an interface The other companies were building research based, like Perplexity. Some companies were building image generation. Some companies were building on reasoning. Manus, for example, very good at reasoning. Now, the general AI, a general intelligence is far away. What's the trend for that? I don't know. Looking at the tools of today, I cannot predict the trend. And maybe I don't consider myself expert enough to predict trend of Gen AI tools right now. And where this will be heading? Will agentic AI take the center stage? Will the NCP will take the center stage? Or will be some other AR, VR, or human to robot type of interactions will take a center stage? I don't know. It's very hard to predict the trend. Similarly, now jumping back into ESG, what's really important for the world today? Is it the reporting or is it the action to reduce the carbon emissions? Personally, I feel it has to be the right thing to do, reduce the emission first. World should ideally adopt a trend that I'm going to reduce my emissions by measuring them, mitigation of those emissions using carbon credits or carbon reduction projects, and then reporting transparently so that the others can take a reference from it, inspiration from it, and do the right thing. So the ideal trend that Vinayak wants to see is reduction of emission in the ESG space. Will that trend be manifested? Time will tell. All right, there's a typical career path. I also want to, sorry, Vanshika, before I move on, is there any additional question?
We can take it at last, Vinayak.
Okay.
That's all right.
All right. What could look like a typical ESG career path, right? And don't take it like this is the only slated path. This can have many crisscross. I am not advising any one of you to jump into ESG and leave what you're doing right now. That's not the intention. Intention is to appraise you on an additional field which you can start learning side by side and explore if it interests you, like it interested me. You could become a technical analyst, a technical role, or a senior role, or a trader, or a market director, or a CTO, focusing on these type of organizations. Yeah, these are various paths that your career might take you. I mentioned about My Diksha. It's a company based in the Delhi region. They've actually launched one successful course with IMI Kolkata Management Institute, very reputed institute, and it also gets credits. Means students get a credit for completing that executive program. It's signed by the university, not by My Diksha or Suchi. It's signed by the university. These are the trends coming out of a research done by My Diksha. There are fast rising demand and future proofing for ESG and sustainability sector. You talked about the trend. Here is the empirical evidence for that trend. What's the percentage that it could go? It is rapidly growing. I can tell you that for sure. Why is it rapidly growing? Because of government regulations, mandates, investor scrutiny, global climate commitments, and the users. Customers are asking for it. Show me your carbon emissions. Reduce those carbon emissions. How many of you are aware of Apple? You all know about Apple Watch already, right? How many of you have watched the launch of Apple Watch 8 2 to 3 years ago? That was the first time Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, acted in that advertisement. First time he acted in an advertisement, and that advertisement was only about carbon neutral product Apple Watch 8. It is that big. World's one of the biggest companies wants to showcase that their product is carbon neutral when they are launching that product. As you know, Apple products don't need a launch. You just release a new version, people just jump to buy it. That's what happened, right? Apple Pro 16 is out of stock, sold out in India within 2 days. They don't need to. But what are they highlighting? They're highlighting their commitment to the environment. Companies also need to showcase their commitment to the environment and the products so that their sales increase. That's a fast rising demand. Career mobility and diverse roles. People who want to shift their careers, explore new avenues, and take diverse selection of their roles can consider ESG space. There is actually a scarcity of skills in this space. You see a lot of people completing, let's say, Gen AI courses. Are they all data scientists just by completing a course? Answer is no. It takes practice. It takes projects to practice the skills that you have learned in those courses so that you become an expert and go to the next level. And people who are very good at this, they get a competitive edge in the job market. For a comparison, they have selected these 4 areas: ESG and sustainability, IT, general development and support activities, sales and marketing, and manufacturing for both tech and the engineering fields. And these are some of the salary ranges that we have seen for ESG and sustainability. You will notice that they're slightly higher because of scarcity of skills. When the supply of skills is more, obviously the salary may be optimized or generalized. But as of now, for the foreseeable future, they are in scarce. Okay, moving on. We talked about a lot of things today. What does it mean for us as human species? What are we looking at, right? If globally, countries and corporations and businesses and us as humans, if we do not cooperate and collaborate to actively reduce the emissions, we are looking at a certain future like this. It could be different if we reduce our emissions to 1.5 degrees Celsius, a much better Earth to live in. It could be slightly hotter, hard to manage if the temperature is around 2 degrees Celsius higher than what we have now, or it could be unlivable planet if it breaches that mark. Whether we like it or not, scientifically, this is the fact. It's important that we learn the gravity of the problem, act on it in our personal capacity, as well as in our businesses, in our jobs, in our career, so that the emissions are reduced. Okay. The following section is about Switch. I'm going to try to explain to you what do we do at Switch and how does it relate to ESG and sustainability concepts that we have seen just now. Before I go into that section, do we have any question from earlier parts?
Um, we do have several questions, but if it is fine, then maybe we can do a separate Q&A
Okay.
at the end.
Okay, so let me jump into the Switch overview section. Feel free to stop me because there's going to be a very short section and then we'll jump into the Q&A. I started Switch with a single aim to help the businesses to achieve their sustainability goals. The goals vary. Different companies at different stage of their progression have different type of sustainability goals, and we help them to earn long-term business success. What we believe truly is that we can create a positive impact through the technology. Like I told you, I'm a technology IT person. I help the companies through the technology that I know of. That's my skill. I can apply into the sustainability area. That's what we do at Switch. Our mission is to help the businesses to achieve their own goals, whichever sector they are operating in. So the climate expertise that we have at our end, the innovative solutions and products that we have, so that together we can create a sustainable future. For whom? For the generations to come. Our vision at Switch is long term. Nothing happens in the short term. You guys already know that. Nothing happens in the short term. It's a weather change. We are tackling climate change. That's why it has to be long term. It's a long term business. We want to attack your problems tactically and strategically. It has to be a tech-driven solution because that's our expertise. We apply technology solutions to fight the climate change. And we also acknowledge that companies cannot just take sustainability initiative with an additional cost. Like one of the questions that was asked, I think Anshika asked that question. We have to balance the business with the growth and sustainability. Both have to be balanced. Only then the business is sustainable. What good is a business if sustainability kills its balance sheet? No, cannot happen. It has to be a sustainable, balanced growth. That's what we help the companies. How do we help that? We have created the products Our first product is the carbon accounting platform. It is one of the most comprehensive platform wherein you can calculate your scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3 emissions, carbon dioxide emissions across your operations, processes, and then compliances. We also help the companies to create their reports. Compliance reports are of various nature. In India, SEBI has mandated a report called as BRSR, Business Responsibility and Sustainability Reporting. We help businesses which are listed on stock exchanges with their BRSR reporting. You can also create your own business BRSR report, not an issue. It's just that you're not mandated by SEBI. There are other types of ESG reports, CBAM reports for the companies which export their material to European Union. Second part, we have a carbon credit marketplace. We already talked about it. It's a blockchain-based platform which helps the companies to trade the carbon credits with complete transparency. There is no opacity in this. 100% transparent transactions. This helps to increase the trust and your claims of carbon neutrality can be proven using the Switch platform. Additionally, based on our qualification, certification, and experience, we help companies to become more sustainable through our consultation approaches. We work hand in hand with the companies so that they can become more sustainable year on year. So that's short about Switch. But you as a person listening to me on this call, what can you do in your personal capacity? We cannot walk away because the problem is too big. We can still do our own part and then try to reduce the emissions. What can we actually do? In personal capacity, we can segregate our waste, dry and wet, so that the municipal corporations can take care of it. We can start transitioning to renewable energy sources, solar panels on our rooftop. We can plant more trees which are local in nature. Just don't start planting trees. We need to plant the Indian species of trees so that they're actually effective. We can use less number of gadgets for less number of hours so that electricity demand is less. We can start going to our offices through bicycle if possible. At Switch, employees in Pune, they received their bicycle on their first day of joining. Whenever possible, they come to office on their bicycle. That gives us satisfaction that we practice what we preach. And also we calculate our emissions for a company level. Switch Climate Tech is already a carbon neutral for the previous financial year. This year also will continue to be carbon neutral. We reduce our emissions consciously, and whatever is residual emission, we use carbon credit to offset those emissions. So this is what we do. I urge you, request you to follow sustainable life practices in your own personal lives also. Even if it doesn't get reported, trust me, I will appreciate that. This is extremely important that we reduce our own carbon footprint. We can join hands and partner to create a more thriving planet because it is our common future. It's not your future, it's not my future. It is a common future that we all share. We share our earth. It's going to impact all of us. So with Switch, you can measure your emissions, you can mitigate your impacts, transform your business, and finally, we switch to sustainability. Thanks for your time.
Wow, that was really great. That was really great. And I love this idea of, when people join Switch Climate, they get a bicycle directly. So that that's really good health wise also, and that is really good environment wise also. That's a great initiative.
Right.
Okay. Okay, so let us move on to Q&A session. And I can see there are several questions in the chat box itself.
Okay.
Maybe I can read it out for you, and then we will ask separately if they want to go ahead and ask any questions.
I can go through that, Vanchika, right now.
Yeah, sure,
I
please.
think last question we had for Ruturaj, what trends we saw that, and we didn't take this question from Sania. Energy Conservation Amendments 2020. I think we did not take this question. Now, energy. So let's start with this part. Energy Conservation Act or Energy Act was constituted in 1961 for India. First of all, it has gone through multiple revisions for all these years. When you're talking about the Energy Conservation Amendment 2022, it first started talking about carbon credit as a legal entity that was approved by Government of India in the Parliament. It had still not become a law. It is an act. It's not a law. So carbon credits were first talked about in 2022 June when they were mentioned. Then there was a follow-up policy in 2023 called as GCP, Green Credit Program, which not only acknowledges carbon credit, but plastic credit and water credit. So if you want to study this Energy Conservation Act holistically, don't look at it from a carbon credit perspective. It's a green credit program which encourages citizens of India to look at all of the activities which reduces carbon dioxide emissions, plastic pollution, and water conservation. So these are the overall arcing principle. But my commentary, now that's the answer to your question. What does this energy conservation amendment means? Now my commentary is we cannot focus on all three. As a business, we need to decide on one area and make meaningful contribution in that area. That would actually help rather than focusing all 3 or 5 sectors. Focus on one, get it done, create your impact. Next, if you could personally achieve only one SDG goals in your lifetime, which one would you choose, Vinayak, and why? That's a tough question. Now, this goes back to before I started Switch, and that should give you the answer. As a middle class person from Maharashtrian family, I've been brought up to live a conservative life, not a sustainable life, conservative life. Meaning we don't travel unnecessarily. If possible, we travel through public transport, take a bus, take a train. Even if you're going by a car, we always did a carpool. So right from 2004 to 2013, I used to travel 42 kilometers a day, 21 kilometers one way. We always were 4 people in the car and we shared the car. So some 1 week it was my car, the second week my friend's car. We always used a carpool. Did I know that I'm doing a sustainable lifestyle back then? No. But this type of a lifestyle is which is conservative in nature actually contributes to less amount of emissions. 4 people taking 4 cars a day, 42 kilometers, a hell lot of emission. Versus just one car for 4 people, the emission is 75% reduced. It is still an emission, but reduced by 75%. So that's something I have always been living my life. After my son was born, he's now 10 years old. This thought came to my mind as a father. What is the legacy that I'm going to leave behind? And that's when the sustainability actually hit me more seriously. And I started studying, took up courses at Stanford, Harvard, so that I can use my IT experience and contribute my IT experience in the field of sustainability so that I can make an impact. So what's the one goal? There is not one goal. One goal is not going to solve the problem. I would like to contribute to as many SDGs as possible. But if you force me to put one goal, right, that would be reduction of emission. That's the root cause of many problems out there. If we manage to reduce emissions in my personal life to achieve SDG number 13, climate action, I'll be the happiest person. I've been taking some conscious steps around it. I've done cycle rides. I used to go to LTI Mindtree on my bicycle, even before I heard about sustainability. So that's a kind of a person I be. Be it rain, summer, I used to take my bicycle only. And people used to question me why I can afford much bigger cars, but I choose not to do that. This constrained living is what can achieve our goals. And I'm not highlighting what Vinayak does, but I'm sharing is openly. You can also do that. There are certain policies of remote working. And I know Anshul, you also support remote working. That's actually good. If you don't have to travel to office, don't. That reduces your emission 100% for that day. It gets counted in your emission saving for your company, by the way. Switch from day one is completely remote. There are a couple of contractors in the team I have not met for last 3 years. In India, I have not met them. And I don't intend to meet them. Not that I'm a bad person, because it is unnecessary for them to travel just to meet us. We had to live that constrained life. That's how we can implement certain actions in our personal lives so that emissions are reduced. I did 3 rides from Pune to Pandharpur, 250 kilometers for 3 years in consecutive, 23, 24, and 25. Just to promote in my friends and share that message. If I can do this, you too can. Whoever is going to office, please consider bicycle. If you have to go to office at least once a day in a week, if not the whole week, once a week is good enough. That will reduce your emissions for 4 days in a month. I'll be very happy for that. And I will thank you for that. Next, diversity inclusion are becoming central to sustainable growth. How can organizations effectively promote gender equity, workforce diversity as a part of ESG commitments? This is Abhay. Very good question. When you look at your ESG reports, there's a dedicated section by the GRI standard, Global Reporting Initiative. It has a standard wherein you have to mention the proportion of your workforce, how many male, female, and other genders. What is a diversity? Which part of world do they come from? I've worked with Middle East companies. You have Saudi Arabia, for example. They mandate the company to disclose how many Saudi people work in your company versus the foreign nationals. Minimum has to be 40% Saudi people. The country has mandated that. Why? They want to protect the local jobs up to a certain extent. But it is also important to understand 60% they have left for foreign nationals. They acknowledge that I may not find the talent in my budget just to become 100% for Saudization. So understand from both, the company has to run a business. It has to grow. Otherwise, there will not even be 40% jobs. Let's be honest about it. You have to have a business. You have to create employment, but you have to strike a balance that the local employment is not affected and foreign nationals also get to contribute to your business growth. These are specifically part of your governance aspect, ESG. G is part of your governance, wherein board diversity, not just employment, board diversification is also disclosed and workforce diversity are maintained. That's how ESG commitments are honored and inspected year on year. That's answer, Abhay. Next, Suryansh Yadav, what skills should you professionally focus? I think we took that question already. How can startups and small businesses often resource constraint integrate ESG into their growth strategy? Wonderful question. I think this is Venkatesh. Brilliant question. Companies often feel restricted to start adopting to ESG. I don't have resources. How can I start? Let's break down what resources you don't have. Do you not have money, time, or skill? If you don't have money, you can still implement ESG practices within the organization without any extra cost. For example, remote work policy. If it is 40% remote, can you go to 50%? Can you go to 55%? If possible, wherever possible, whichever function you can allow. So that is not increasing your cost, but reduction of your emission following your ESG practices. In your next recruitment, can you onboard more diverse genders? Can you be conscious that these are only female only positions, male only positions, so that your proportion is honored, no extra cost. So even if you don't have extra money, you can still put extra thought into your actions and achieve your ESG goals. You can always talk to Switch to create ESG reports. For many startups, we have done consultation free of cost, NGOs free of cost to support their activities. We've also supported some startups to generate their first year ESG reports free of cost by giving our platform. We've trained some people free of cost because they did not have the money part of it. But that doesn't mean there are not resources. There are free resources on United Nations website also. You can learn. Who says that you have to arrange a paid course for your employees? You can always direct them to the United Nations or some other websites which give free courses. So it doesn't have to be always the money part. It is a time investment. You have to encourage people to get that done. So your ESG growth strategies can be achieved with less amount of money, but effort has to be put in. The most important part, Venkatesh, is leadership buy-in. Your topmost leader of the company must be aligned with their strategy. If they are not, nothing will happen. That's my observation. If the CXOs, C-suite is not aligned, this is not something that gets executed as a project. Your project managers, project leads are not going to get you sustainable. It has to be the leadership. Without leadership, it doesn't work. Next question is again by Suryansh. Vantara project launched will help increase carbon credits and also generate more revenue by industries. Absolutely right. Right now, this is something is a limited publication is available. So that's a disclosure. I've read that Vantara is registered for a carbon registry to generate carbon credit, and legally there's nothing wrong with it. You should also register your own project of forestation. If you're planting trees, nobody's stopping you to generate carbon credit from your project. It has to be large enough so that the carbon credits can be generated and economically viable. Where is the transparency? People question that since this is created by a particular family of businesses or an industry, there must be something fishy about it. That's a perception. Unless you are qualified to verify those documentation, I would rather advise on to look at the project details. If that project registered on a carbon registry, it is publicly available. It has to be publicly available so that you can independently verify those claims. And then your ESG expertise, you can start commenting on that part. What we do at Switch, when we advise the companies to buy carbon credit from a particular project, let's say tomorrow I have to advise my customer to start buying project from Vantara. The first thing that we will do is we will go to the carbon registry where that project is registered. We will verify those documents ourselves because we have the expertise about what to verify in those documentation. We will purchase those carbon credits from the particular registry, put them onto our blockchain, and then give it to our customer. So we stand behind the authenticity of that project by validating those because we have the skills to verify that. So that's an approach I would take. Before I question, I would do the study, research, and then comment on that particular type of a project. That's the best approach. It doesn't matter which company or which family is sponsoring it. What matters is the quality of the project. Is it able to reduce amount of emissions to a certain extent? That's what matters. All right. How is my daily lifestyle? Food, travel, shopping. Okay. My shopping, if it's a personal question, I have not purchased a t-shirt since last Diwali. That was the one last gift that my wife gifted me. Because I don't like to spend, honestly. I used to spend, but I have become more conscious. Wherever possible, I still travel through my bike. If there are 2 to 3 people that represent Switch and where to go, we always do a carpooling. Then food travel, home cooked food, we hardly go to hotels. Uh, there are certain occasions where I cannot avoid the traveling by car all by myself. There are certain customer meetings. There are two such events that happened in last year. One, I had to go to Gujarat for that meeting. It was a very short notice. So I drove all the way 15 hours and I drove back all the way again 15 hours. So I reduced my stay at hotel because I traveled all the entire night. I did not have to stay at a hotel. So hotel also has the emission. I avoided that. Same thing happened when my return. I could have gone by flight, but I chose not to because of higher level of emission. And second, I went to a customer in Karnataka. Again, I drove there, but on my way, I picked up somebody in Solapur actually, and then dropped him off at another location. So on that person's part, I could save those emissions. So this is what I try to follow. It is not always possible to avoid certain emissions for business context, but like I said, whatever emission happens for switch activity, we buy carbon credit and offset it. So at the end of March 2026, you will see that for this financial year, switch will be carbon neutral. That's a promise. Next question is by Aniket Savan. In your opinion, next 5 to 10 years, which sector will demand for ESG professionals will be the highest? All sectors. All sectors. At a country level, India's target is to become net zero by 2070. A country cannot become net zero if one sector is not carbon neutral. It has to be cumulative effort. I'll take an analogy. If any one of you or most of you are health enthusiasts, right? What do you typically do? You join a gym, you contact a dietitian and you follow good food habit and you take a good sleep, right?
Right.
Now,
Right.
there are three pillars, right? And the fourth
Right.
one is the invisible stress management. Ahar,
Right.
Vihar, Nidra, and stress management. There are 4 pillars, but 3 are typically done, right? Visible. Now tell me one thing, if somebody just goes to the gym and still keeps eating samosa and junk food, is he going to be healthy? Goal is not going to be met. Very clear. We all know that. If you
Right.
do everything well on your diet and exercise, but don't take enough sleep, are you going to be healthy? No.
No.
For a country, if one sector performs, other sector doesn't, country cannot meet its goal. It cannot become sustainable. So which
Exactly.
sector? All sectors have to comply. I have worked with companies from face care, food, baby care, ceramic tiles, manufacturing, stationery products, IT services. Everybody needs sustainability. No sector can be left behind.
Right.
One more question by Sania. Since sustainability isn't about technology, but also about how people adopt it. That's right. What role can sales and marketing professionals like me play in convincing industries and customers to embrace sustainability with your mission of climate innovation? Very good question. That's another perspective, Sania. Sales and marketing is essential function to deliver value from your organization to your customer. You are the
Right.
communicator of value addition for your customers. What's the value? Sania, as an IT company, you are providing the best of IT services, be it in testing, automation, AI, ML, or other DevOps activities, right? These are your services. You're not communicating that I do this service. You're communicating my service adds this value to your business. Because of testing, your quality improves. That's what you're communicating. Similarly, for sustainability, my organization, Serverth, has adopted these types of certain initiatives so that our carbon footprint is less. You should consider taking services from Server because we are more responsible, we are environmentally conscious, and these are our evidences how we have manifested that. These are our emission records from 2024. This is 25. This is a reduction of 10-20%. We continue to reduce our emissions. Here is our policy. Here's how we do work from home. Here's how we have a quota of our workforce diversification. These are
Right.
our vendor onboarding policies. This is how we treat our employees. We do monthly events. We do annual events. We try to ensure employee well-being. We provide quality education. We arrange industry sessions like this one so that employees are aware of their overall well-being. This is also part of sales and marketing, how Server is doing great for its customers. So these are your actions of sustainability and other SDGs which are aligned with your principles and values need to be highlighted. And of course, you can do a lot more that taking emission assessment. You can do emission assessment. You can report your own ESG. You can create your own ESG and share it. You can get yourself with an ESG score. You can create your BRSR report. There are many ways to express your sustainability initiatives. All right, I hope, Sania, that was answered.
Guys, if you have any questions from your end, आप unmute करके भी पूछ सकते हैं.
Yeah.
Because I guess the session is going very good. We have learned a lot till now, and I get to know what my companies are doing for the society, doing for the environment.
You are.
And actually, now I'm realizing कि what we are doing, हमने cities के stress को काफी कम कर दिया है.
Very nice.
Right. We are moving from tier 1 to tier 2, and even we are trying to move from tier 2 to tier 3. And we walk majorly, like we walk in the office. यहाँ पे cars और वैसा कोई system नहीं है, but we'll make sure you are coming from like a bit of distance, so they can come up with cycle. And we will definitely discuss with Vaibhav and Kapil that whosoever is entering to the company, first of all, along with the kid, they will get a cycle as well. That's what they're going to copy from you.
And a water bottle also is a good idea. I didn't say that, but it's a small gesture. Having a
Right.
steel or a glass water bottle is better than a plastic bottle. We don't have any
Yeah.
plastic bottles in our office. And
Great.
Zerodha, it's not just Switch. Zerodha, if you look at the company in their Bangalore office, it's such a great company. They have zero plastic water bottles. Whoever is the guest, be it prime minister or president, they will not serve plastic bottles.
That's a great initiative.
Jao, glass में पानी लो और पियो. Just like what we do.
Right.
It's a simple things, but that matters. Plastic pollution is really hard to handle, but it's best. It's easier to not cause it.
Right. And even in WPCO, Vinayak, we started some one thing that we are offering one plant to every student to put on their desk, and they have to take care of their plant from day one till the day they're going to leave the company.
Very nice.
This is what
That's
we are
brilliant.
initiating. Yeah.
That's brilliant.
So guys, we are left for more 10 minutes. Vanshika, I would like you to continue. Thank you.
Right. So thank you so much, Vinayak. That was amazing. I mean, really adding on to Anshul's point that about Sarvarth, no. So not only a few things, but I could actually see a lot of things, point out a lot of things in that. And I've also written it here like quality education, gender equality, decent work, and economic growth. And there are several things. Okay, so as we wrap up, let's just quickly reflect on the topic today. So ESG, I what I understood here, correct me if anywhere I go wrong, Vinayak. So ESG is not just about rules and compliance. It's more about smarter and responsible growth, right? And sustainability is not only good for the planet, but also, as you also mentioned later with your slides, that it is, opening up new career opportunities for people around. So yeah, that is really nice. And I have also got one lesson, I think. Many lessons in this session, and I think all of us here, including WPCOE, including all the members of Sarvat, so we are definitely going to adapt a lot of things from here now on. So, and a big thank you once again, Vinayak, for sharing your expertise with all of us here, and especially with the WPCOE students. And I'm sure it was really great for them as well. Very engaging session today. I mean, honestly, I haven't expected the session to be this interactive, but it went really well, really well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. And now, okay, so before we close, okay, we would love to, share a quick poll with all of you, right? So, Vinayak and me, when we were having a quick discussion before this session, so he mentioned that, okay, let us go with a feedback from everyone. And now I understand post the session why it was why it is so important. So we will share the link with all of you, and it is going to be mandatory for all of you here. Okay, and yeah, would you like to have share a little feedback from your end, Vinayak?
I really enjoyed speaking with all of you, and particularly because it was interactive. Many times these sessions, when I deliver in college or a company, it's a monologue that I'm standing on a dais and then delivering, and hardly anyone talks about it. And there are lots of claps at the end. I don't know whether it was for the session or the session ended. But this was a different engagement. I really loved the way um, you relayed all the questions, Vanshika, and also some of the questions that came through the chat. Very brilliant question, very valid question. I'm taking it as a indication that I was able to increase the curiosity quotient in some of you, which led you to think and ask that question. I think that's a great, brilliant start, because this type of seeds actually push you to the next step. One of you will do something about it, and I'll be the happiest person when that happens. Because that's my mission, to reduce the emissions in the world. If one of you reduces 1 kg just because of this session, I'll be the happiest person, trust me. So thank you for this type of attention and curious questions. I look forward to response to the feedback, so that I can also tailor this type of a communication for more effectiveness. I'll be speaking at the Cummins College next week, and I forgot to mention, we are invited at IIT Bombay in October to conduct a GHG workshop for 150 international scientists from chemical domain, American Chemical Association or Society, ACS. They invited us, and we are also participating with the DST, Department of Science and Technology, Niti Aayog, on 8th of October, again at IIT Bombay, to speak on how Switch and other platforms can help in the higher education sectors. But it is also need that the students or freshers know this before they join the job market.
Right.
And it is equally important for all of us. We are already working to know what ESG is, but it should also percolate from an earlier days. Um, so your feedback will help me to tune some of the pointers in the upcoming session, so that the delivery is more effective. We all learn from each other. So my sincere thanks for all these brilliant questions. Um, and I look forward to more engagement with entire team in a very energetic team. Anshul, I look forward to talking and meeting you someday in Pune.
Sure,
Uh,
Vinayak.
and Vaibhav and Sumit, all of you.
Even Vinayak, if you are planning to come to Pune, so Vanshika is also starting a podcast very soon, and she's
Wow.
in Pune for next 10 more days. So
Acha.
if there is any possibility, if you're coming before 26 or 27, we would love to have a discussion regarding this, all the
Definitely.
whole concept, because I believe this is something that need to be shared with a lot of people, young age people, and
Yes.
people after schools and graduation, so that they get to know things before joining any institute or any corporate
Correct.
sort of things. So
Some of
if
the
you are
schools are
available,
taking some of the
yeah,
schools are taking good steps. Primary schools,
right,
I have noticed they have something called as SDGs in their
right,
schools. They're teaching that, but they're not actionable. They need to know. Absolutely not against that, but they can't act on it. Not a lot. But the college going students can definitely act on it. They can implement and create an impact in the colleges.
right,
They are the most energetic batch.
right. Actually, even in Sarvad, we focus mainly on practical based learning. Na? So
Yeah,
instead of going through the theory of this, we will start focusing more on implementation.
great,
So
great.
whatever you are saying will definitely apply it, right?
Right. And if you need any help on technology part while you are implementing it practically, be it the platform or other consultation, we are just a call away, Anshul. We'll be there
We
to
will
support you.
definitely get in touch with you, Vinayak. And if it is possible for you to be in Pune, if you are in Pune, we would love
I'm
to
in
have
Pune.
a
I am
you.
in
If you are
Pune.
in Pune, then we can definitely schedule a podcast with Vanshika, so at least we can get some good content out of it, right?
Sure. If you had asked me to travel to Jabalpur, my answer is no. Virtual call.
That's why maybe that is the reason we got connected and everything set on a good point.
Yeah.
So maybe yeah, we can meet and thanks for raising it up, Anshul. Yeah, we can have this is a wonderful topic actually, not only to speak about but also for sharing the awareness towards the generation, the young generation. As you mentioned, there was a picture in the slide where the hand, the young boy was holding a hand, right? Really love the concept, and there are so many concepts, there are so many discussions which can be done over here, so many things we can do over here.
Yeah.
So definitely that would be a great topic to start with.
Cool. All right. Thank you. Thank you everyone for your active
Yeah,
participation. I
so
enjoyed it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Vinayak.
yeah, thank you
Thanks a
so
lot.
much, Vinayak,
We
and
will
All
get
right.
in
All right.
touch, Vinayak. We'll
We'll
get
get
back
in
to you
touch.
very soon.
Absolutely.
Take
All
care.
right.
Thank
Take care.
you.
Bye.
Thanks for your
thank you
time.
so much for your time. Yeah. And everyone, I have shared this form with you, Microsoft form with you. It is, again, I'm mentioning it is mandatory for everyone to fill this up. And if you do not get anything or understand anything, please feel free to reach out to us.